I have to tell you now, this country is at war with Germany.
Battlefield 5 is a World War II first-person shooter that lets you take part in large-scale battles across some of the lesser-known fronts of the Second World War. Usually when I review a game like this, I like to split it into two separate videos, one for the single player and one for multiplayer, but this time I thought I'd roll them both into one. And seeing as how the first time you start the game it drops you straight into the single player, I thought I'd do the same. So here we go, my thoughts on Battlefield 5. Once again, the campaign is split into lots of little different stories, war stories. It allows us to really hop around the world and see things from a variety of different perspectives, and helps to show how many things were all going on at once in different countries across the globe, but all fighting for the same war effort. Thankfully we don't go through the storming the beaches and D-Day again like we've already done in 1,000 games before this. But instead, you get to play through some of the more unknown aspects of the war, often as a kind of lone soldier tasked with a special mission. There's a chance to see the foundations of the British SBS or Special Boat Services. There's a young Norwegian soldier fighting to stop the Nazis from developing a new superweapon. And then there's the story of the African troops who fought for France. All of these different characters that you're introduced to are full of personality, and even though you only spend a few hours with each of them, there's a good chance that you'll remember them more than a lot of other games' protagonists who have entire campaigns dedicated to them.
It's a long way to Tipperary. It's a long way to go.
Only 3 war stories are available at launch, but at least one more is coming soon. The levels all have a lot of choice about how you want to approach them. Often a large map opens up, giving you targets that you need to destroy. But how you go about doing this is up to you. You could go in guns a-blazing, or you can take a more stealthy approach, tagging enemies and then slowly picking them off one by one. Each level also comes with a series of optional challenges to try out, as well as some collectible letters to find. It's interesting that there aren't actually any trophies or achievements for doing any of these extra little things, so there's not much incentive to do them. In fact, to get all of the campaign trophies, all you need to do is complete the stories in the highest difficulty, hardcore mode, which at times can be a frustrating experience. It's not overly difficult, but it does have some annoying moments when it seems like the enemy is infinitely respawning until you push forward, which can be easier said than done. There's a lot of heart to the war stories, and hopefully we'll get even more of them in the future. But for now, let's move on to the main event. The maps are as big as ever, with lots of little areas to have fun fights in. They do a great service of capturing the horror of war, from the destruction of cities, to the baking hot ruins of Hamada, to the freezing mountain tops of Fjell 652. The sound effects do a great job of bringing these areas to life, as you can hear every little detail, from the sound of shell cases falling, to the crunch of snow underfoot, that actually makes you feel kinda cold. Squads play a more important role than ever, with your group of 4 now being able to revive one another, regardless of if they're a medic or not. Everyone's got their role to play, whether it's to keep the enemy suppressed, or to take care of the enemy vehicles. The only role that I sometimes find frustrating is the medic, because the role of keeping your team alive can sometimes mean that you spend more time healing than you do shooting, especially when there's dozens of people around you, all waiting to be revived. Of course, you could always ignore the pleas for help, but in a match where lives are limited, that can be a kind of risky move. I love how polished all of the menus are, letting you customise both your weapons and your soldiers, tweaking loadouts with ease. It's surprising that that level of polish isn't quite there in the actual game though. Often there's the odd glitch, particularly with dead bodies moving about. And in one match that I played, we had to pick up explosives to plant on an enemy position, but the explosives never spawned. So we had to either just quit or play out a match that we couldn't win. But despite the flaws, it's easy to forgive the game because of all the chaos that a 64-player match can bring. You never quite know what's going to happen, and there's always crazy moments of brilliance. By the end of a match, buildings will be destroyed, areas will be left in ruins, but at the same time, there's also a chance to create. Anyone can switch to their trusty hammer and start building fortifications to help them defend. It's a nice addition that over the course of a match turns a map from a civilian area to a war zone. With the daily challenges and special assignments that you can set, you always feel like you're working towards something. Whether it's leveling up an individual class or specific gun, you're always making progress. Although to be fair, pretty quickly the rewards to all of this leveling up, particularly for the guns, becomes purely cosmetic. All of the attachments and specializations you get pretty early on, so it feels less and less rewarding after that. So there we go, my thoughts on Battlefield 5. Once again, I'm having more fun with it than I do with any other multiplayer experience. Playing it always gives that sense of scale, that you're doing just a small part of a major battle, and yet everything you achieve could be the difference between victory and defeat. So until next time, thanks for watching.